What's up guys, D16 here, and welcome to a brand new video. And if you're watching this on the day it came out, Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl are already out. So, I'm going to be going over my team for every Pokemon game I've played that I can remember. Starting with Generation 1. The only Gen 1 game I played is Pokemon Red. And the only Pokemon I remember using is Venusaur. So moving on to Generation 2. And the only one of these three games I played is Gold. I played the first two generations on the Virtual Console. And my team was Typhlosion, Fearow, Rocky the Steelix, Muscle the Machamp, Victreebel, and Lantern. Next would be Generation 3, but I have not played any of the 5 games in that gen. So we're moving on to Generation 4, starting with Diamond, which was the first Pokemon game I ever played back when I was 5 years old. I don't remember my first ever team, just that I picked Chimchar. But I do remember my more recent Diamond team, which is Infernape, appropriately named Nostalgia, and then the typical Staraptor, Luxray, Roserade, but then Gastrodon and Alakazam. Next up is my Platinum Jojo Lock, which I sometimes call Pokemon Star Platinum. In addition to normal Nuzlocke rules, in a Jojo Lock, you have to nickname your Pokemon after a band, an artist, song, album, whatever. Kinda like stands. Now do you get it? First, let's talk about the deaths. First was a Shieldon I had named Tank, after two British heavy metal bands. Shieldon was killed by a wild Ghastly in the old chateau, after it had used Curse and Mean Look. Next was a Luxio I had named Stray Cat. She was killed by a level 30 Goldeen, one level before she would have evolved, after it landed a Horn Drill. Horn Drill is a one-hit KO or OHKO move with an accuracy of 30%, and it can only hit targets that are a lower level than the user. And under all those conditions, it hit, and Luxio was killed. Next was a Staraptor I had named Freebird, after a song by Lynyrd Skynyrd. I think Staraptor was killed by a wild Tentacruel or something on either the route just before Sunyshore or the water route just after. Next was Deadmau5 the Raichu, named after Deadmau5. If you don't know who he is, he's a dubstep artist. Anyway, Raichu was OHKO'd by Barry Staraptor's Close Combat right before the league. And finally, a Rapidash named Old Town Road, after I think you get the idea. It was killed by Cynthia's Roserade. The rest of the team survived. That team being Sheer Heart Attack the Torterra, named after the Queen album Sheer Heart Attack, Survivor the Electivire, Nirvana the Medicham, Giratina, which I named Highway to Hell after the AC/DC song of the same name, and Surfing Bird the Golduck, which I named after the song of the same name by the Trashmen. Next up would have been Heart Gold and Soul Silver, but I don't remember the team I used. So now we're moving on to Generation 5, my Black 2 Nuzlocke, because I don't remember any other team from this generation. First, let's go over the deaths. My first ever Nuzlocke death was a Purrloin named Troll. It was my first ever encounter, and I think it was killed by a wild Pokemon or something. Next is Ed Zorua, and I don't remember what killed him either. I just don't remember much about my first two deaths. This was my first Nuzlocke, okay? Next is Estelle the Gothitelle, who was killed by an Opelucid gym trainer. That was the first death that actually hurt. The final death in this run was Iolite the Gigalith, who was killed by one of Marlin's Pokemon. I guess now I should move on to the team I used in the league. That team is Jack the Samurott, Giorgio Livani, Steve Irwin the Crocodile, Cybershock the Magnezone, Soulflare the Chandelure, and Bruce the Crobat. Now moving on to Generation 6, starting with the Pokemon Y Christlock, my first ever Let's Play. As always with Nuzlocks, we'll first talk about the deaths. First up was Fry the Froakie, my starter, who was killed by a wild Dunsparce in Episode 2. Next was the Quacken the Psyduck, who was killed by a wild Solrock in Episode 14. Next was Mienfoo the Mienfoo, who was killed by a wild Axew using Dragon Rage in Episode 16. Next was Gerberlife the Budew, who was killed by a gym trainer in Episode 26. Next was Raiden the Aerodactyl, who was killed by Lysander's Gyarados in Episode 30, the shortest episode in the series. My most recent Nuzlocke death was Nessie the Lapras, who was killed by Tierno's Roserade in Episode 36. The team I used for the rest of the series was Roadblock the Snorlax, Ryu the Mega Lucario, Thumper the Steelix, Kermit the Politoed, Ravager the Mega Aerodactyl, and Galapagos the Torkoal. Next up would be Omega Ruby, but the only team member I really remember using is Sceptile. Next up would be Sun, but I don't remember any team members other than Decidueye and Vikavolt. Next up is my all-time favorite team that I've used, my Ultra Sun team, which is all three Alola starters, a Magnezone, Hawlucha, and a Garchomp. This team of 6 is just my favorite out of all the teams I've used. Next up is Let's Go Eevee, My team for that game was the Partner Eevee, a Mew, Clefable, and all 3 Kanto starters. And finally, Generation 8, Base Sword and Shield. Starting with my Sword team, which was Inteleon, Corviknight, Obstagoon, Galarian Weezing, Sirfetch'd, and Golurk. And finally, my team for Shield was Rillaboom, Dreadnought, Toxtricity, Centiskorch, Grimmsnarl, and Cursula. If I can't use Vileplume in Brilliant Diamond, I plan on using Roserade instead. And finally, if I can't use Dusknoir, Spiritomb's a pretty good alternative. Thank you all so much for watching. The Brilliant Diamond Let's Play is set to premiere Thanksgiving Day, November 25th. Be sure to leave a like on this video, subscribe if you're new, hit the notification bell, comment below, and follow me on Twitter. Link will be in the description. And I'll see you in the next video. Peace.